Square Media Station. WTUG HD2 Northport. W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide WTUG HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. A Town Square Media Station. What made it you could first down by touchdown Alabama. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we played the center and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. But you should pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to take it, and I ran back so things like biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show fan page. You can find it on Martin Houston Live on Facebook and Martin Houston Live on YouTube. It is a great Thursday morning. We got a great show lined up for you. Want to include you in on the conversation at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business. Give us a call. That us is X and O's host, Xavier Houston, co-hosting with me once again on this Thursday morning. Remember that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone. Be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good, Dad. How you doing this morning?
Doing well. Let's get things going. Let's talk a little bit about this Mississippi State game. It's been an interesting week. A lot of good coming out of it. Some bad, but mostly good. Let's talk a little bit about key takeaways, and then we'll get into conversation that we'll set up for Hank South, who will join us in the second half, kick off the third quarter, to talk a little recruiting. But before that, I guess start with what were your key takeaways from the Alabama Mississippi State game?
Yeah, Bryce finally looked comfortable on the road. Now is Starkville the environment that a College Station or the Swamp is? Not necessarily, but I still think it was a step in the right direction. Him looking comfortable from the beginning and staying comfortable throughout the whole game. Because Florida, he was comfortable at the beginning, then tailed off. And then at Texas A&M, it was a rough start that he improved on. So just being able to go 4 quarters, looking comfortable, making plays. He used his legs extensively for the first time that we've seen this season, getting third down conversions, extending drives. So that's probably my biggest takeaway. And then I like the fact that he went back to Jonathan Mechie, who struggled against A&M with some drops, 7 catches, 117, and a touchdown. And I think Brian Robinson getting involved in the passing game was huge. He didn't have the huge number on the ground, only 73 yards with 2 touchdowns. But getting him 68 and another score through the air shows his versatility. And it picks up some of that slack with the lack of production that we've had from our tight end the last 2 weeks.
Speaking of the tight end position, they've kind of disappeared the last couple of weeks. Is that due to their performance? Is that due to he's spreading the ball around a little bit more? You know, I always said a young quarterback's best friend is a tight end, and that proved to be the case early on. So do you think it's as much about spreading the ball around more to more guys, or is it that, you know, defenses may be scheming to stop that?
Well, I think it's a little bit of everything. I think the defense knows, as you said, young quarterbacks love to go to their tight end, so they're probably keen on Billingsley and Latu a little bit more, making Bryce have to throw it more on the outside or take check down. But at the same time, it's performance. You know, it's not like he hasn't targeted these guys. Jaleel was targeted 5 or 6 times against Texas A&M with a few drops. Latu had a drop in the last 2 games against Mississippi State and A&M. So and Bryce has spread it around. Like I said, Brian's gotten a little bit more involved in the passing game. You saw Trayshawn Holden have a big game against Mississippi State as well. So, you know, those were 8 catches for around 140 yards that we've seen normally go to Latu and Billingsley, but this week it was Holden and Robinson. So if we're able to still make plays and have explosive plays with getting it to other guys, those guys have to step up their game.
Yeah, and of course, as you said, Latu had a couple drops. I'm still questioning whether or not that should have been a touchdown against Texas A&M. I probably would have challenged it because we didn't really talk about that last week. When you cross the goal line and have possession, it's over. You don't have to complete the catch to the ground. No different than a fumble. When you stick the fumble across, you don't have to come back down with it. And so when Latu made that spin and turn, he had the ball, had a foot down, second foot, and then he fumbled it going to the ground. But, you know, they didn't choose to challenge it. It ended up being a drop. He had a couple of the throws this past week. 1 or 2 of them were not great throws. I will give him that. Couple hit him right in the hand. So, but I think they're making it harder for those guys. When you look at the Alabama run game, as you said, B-Rob didn't have 73 yards. 73 yards is not a bad game, especially when you take the fact that we had 3 long drives, long touchdown plays, which took away carries from him. But overall, I think he did a good job. How do you feel, Roydell? Do you see growth in him, and is he showing himself to be a capable back? Because he literally one play from having to carry Alabama, and so in the running position, are you feeling more comfortable that if B-Rob goes down, that you know our running game goes out the window and we become Mississippi State, or we can still run the ball with Roydell? In it still seemed like very limited reps by Trey Sanders.
Yes, I think Roydell has shown his worth and his ability to make plays. Going back to the Southern Miss game, of course, over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown, and he caught the touchdown pass to Texas A&M. And then you turn around and you look at this week, he had 11 carries for 78 yards, and he was involved in the passing game as well. So I do believe that if Brian was to go down, that Roydell is a very capable back. 2 games he's gotten 10 plus touches. He's really shown what he can do. But the scary thing at that point is it seems like they still have Trey on the pitch count. What do we do in that scenario? Because I don't think Roydell is yet at the point to where he can take a workload the way Brian can. He's a little bit smaller guy, younger, hasn't had the time. Not saying that he can't be a 15 to 20 guy, but right now we're asking Brian to be a 25 to 30 guy. And so how do you disseminate the rest of those carries? And of course, during warm-up Saturday, you had Christian Leary and DeMoy Kennedy actually working with the running back, so that's also a viable option there.
Yeah, and you wonder, will we get to see either one of those guys get some reps, because literally, like you said, we're one play from getting two plays from getting to those guys being the backup guy. Here's the the gist of it. We got, I think, I mean, Trey seems to do well, like I said, but he seems to be on the pitch count, so still not sure about that. Feel really good about Brian and Rodell and what they're bringing to the table. And I do like the fact that this week it seemed like we were more intentional in getting the ball to the running backs in space. And slowly but surely we see some. Now, please, I'm not saying he's going to be Najee Harris, but we see this season shaping up a lot of ways for Brian to be like Najee, the guy who's going to get to 20 to 23, 24 carries a game and then have 3-4 receptions. And I think we're going to need that if down the stretch that we can lean on him in that way.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to be Najee. He has to be the best version of himself. Really, before Josh Jacobs, the running backs weren't that heavily used in the passing game traditionally at Alabama. We would throw it to TJ Yeldon a little bit, Kenyon Drake, but a lot of times Kenyon was lined up as a wide receiver. But you've kind of seen the evolution of the offense to include the running backs more. And is Brian as flashy and pretty as not as, but he's proven for now the third straight week that he's capable of being the bell cow. You're talking about 4 straight games of over 140 total yards of offense. So, as long as he's able to keep putting up those type numbers, I think he is fine with carrying the load.
That's X's and O's. Xavier Houston. I'm Martin Houston. We're going to get the break here. Coming back on the other side, we'll talk about what improvements we saw and whether there are any concerns lingering from this particular game. We'll talk a little defense on the other side. If you want to get in on the conversation, you can do that by calling 205-342-9904. Taco Casa hotline is open for business. And also you can add your thoughts and comments on chat. And CJ Watson giving us one more. The last time Tennessee beat Alabama in football, the Blu-ray DVD platform was launched. Think on that for a second. And for some of you, you're like, what is Blu-ray? So coming back on the other side, we'll talk more Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi State, and more right here on the Martin Houston Show.
100.9 traffic. From the Stay ahead of the game. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy today. The chance of a few passing showers, maybe a thunderstorm in spots. The high 78. For tonight, showers and storms ending this evening, clearing after midnight, the low 52. Tomorrow, a beautiful day, sunny with a fresh north breeze, the high 76. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3220 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 68 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Sophomart Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at sophmartdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Want to invite you to get in on the conversation. 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline open for business. X, tell them where they can find you and your podcast.
Yes, sir. You can find me at X's and O's Sports across all podcast streaming platforms, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And I'm actually kind of going a little viral right now on TikTok because of a video that's got about 300,000 views on it. So the platform is starting to grow, so I'm excited.
What was the video on?
Just the whole situation from this weekend with the Sean Taylor Memorial and Patrick Mahomes' little brother being a distraction as always.
It's those little brothers, right? So I was the little brothers. I was just being funny. But let's get back to what we were talking about. Keep it going, keep it growing. What did you see? Real quick from the offensive side, what did you see as the biggest improvement? Then we'll flip over to defense.
The biggest improvement was probably the O-line play. Of course, there was still a little bit of pressure, especially up the middle. You know, Chris Owens probably played his best game of the season, in my opinion. Didn't really, an offensive lineman plays a great game where you're not always calling his name or thinking about him. That, and then just the way we spread the ball around, I think was great.
All right, let's flip to to the defensive side of the ball. Defensively, did some things a little different. We saw two defensive linemen a lot with Will Anderson down in a stance, and then Christian Harris rushing from that outside linebacker. How do you think that set worked, and do you think we'll see more of it?
I definitely would love to see more of it if we can continue to be effective with it. Will Anderson last week challenged his team and said, we come to Alabama to play to a standard, and we haven't been playing to that. And, we have to put football first as a team. If you're not here with football first, you're at the wrong place. But not only did he talk it, he walked it. 4 sacks, most in the game since Derek Thomas. It was just a heck of a performance, and it looked like it inspired the defense as a whole. From Harris played his best game, in my opinion. Toto played his best game. battle with 2 interceptions, Joe getting an interception. It was just a complete team defense. Yes, Mississippi State was able to move the ball at times, but when they got close, we were able to stiffen up and make the plays to either get off the field and force a field goal or to get a turnover.
Yeah, one of the hopefully bright stars that shined in the game and hopefully will shine the rest of the season. LeBron Ray getting out there, getting some playing time. What could that mean to this for this team?
I mean, LeBron Ray was a guy that we expected to be a 3-year guy and out of here, but due to injuries and things, he's still here. And he finally looks like he's healthy, and he showed it. He was able to get out there and get in the way. He's not the explosive defensive end that he was when he arrived at Alabama, a guy that was potentially going to play outside linebacker. But he's gotten bigger, he has gotten stronger, and him being able to be maybe not a huge pass rusher, but a guy that can eat up blocks. It could be big for Bama down the stretch.
Saban, every time Saban talks about a guy coming off injury, he always talks about the player having confidence that he can play again more than his health. And I just wonder if that's part of what LeBron Ray's thing is. I know you will be familiar with how Derrick Rose and how long it took Derrick Rose to get back. And even when Derrick Rose started back playing, you thought, well, this guy lost everything he had. And slowly over time, his confidence came back. So maybe LeBron Ray can get back to that point. And I think with his build and his stature, he could be – now don't hear me saying he could be Jonathan Allen, but he could have some of that Jonathan Allen quality where he's, good run stopper. And I think if he regains that athletic ability you were talking about, that he was so athletic that they were talking about, he actually, when we had that year where linebackers were going down, like guys jumping out of a parachute, he moved out there. So if he can get some of that back and that confidence back, he would be a difference maker. Because we talked yesterday, Xavier, about if we were a coach, what would we do to help the defensive line? A LeBron Ray, effective LeBron Ray at defensive end, tackle, and Byron Young at tackle, and Phil Mathis at nose tackle. Maybe.
Yeah, and hopefully Byron can get back healthy as well. He's been dealing with some minor stuff that kind of slowed him down with the shoulders. So you get LeBron's confidence back up and Byron healthy. This defensive line can be a force to deal with.
And I think if part of what we thought was going to make this defensive line great was just how many we could rotate, how many we could trust to play. And we haven't seen that yet in terms of, getting into – Saban at one point said 8 or 9 guys that he felt could play winning football. I don't think we've gotten there, but if we continue to work, maybe we can get there. Anything else from a defensive side of the ball that you wanted to get to before I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. We'll talk more about Tennessee tomorrow, but anything else from the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, it was interesting to me. I know this guy has been dealing with an ankle injury all season, but I don't think a lot of people noticed Daniel Wright got the start at safety against Mississippi State and played well. He didn't give up any big plays. So I think and of course DeMarco Helms got a lot of reps as well. So maybe having those two guys rotate, keep them fresh, could be beneficial to the defense as well.
Yeah, and we played that robber defense. Ended up getting some picks. So, like I said, I don't know that this defense works against a Tennessee style of offense, but definitely saw a couple things. Couple other things that I saw. Red zone defense seemed to have been, I guess, the best part of our defense, the most consistent part of our defense in the red zone. They definitely played well there, holding the team to just 3 field goals. So almost like we employed that bend but don't break mentality.
Yeah, they like I said, they were able to move the ball, but whenever they got within the 30, things tightened up, and we got 2 of our interceptions down that way, and of course holding them to 3 field goals. You know, this high-powered Mike Leach offense has scored 9 points in 2 years against Alabama. So, hey, if we could play this way against everybody else the rest of the way, Alabama would be just fine.
Yeah, I thought tackling was better. Did you feel that way?
Oh, without a doubt. And you know, the numbers showed it. Henry Toto was voted, I think, the Walter Camp Player of the Week at 12 tackles. So that shows that he was able to play that with that controlled aggression, controlled anger that you want to see from your defensive guys. But also, guys were just flying to the ball. It wasn't always one guy making the tackle, which sometimes we've seen over the last few games, which will lead to a guy slipping a tackle and getting another 5 to 6 yards.
I'm gonna say 5 things. Get your quick response on them. Okay. All right. Number 1 is wide receiver blocking.
Absolutely outstanding.
You can go talk more than that. That's not a response. That was an agreement. But anyway,
we talked about it the other day, and I put it down on my recap. Blade Bolden had the big block getting in the way of the guy for Mechie's long touchdown, as well as Mechie returning the favor to Jameson on his big touchdown. The wide receiver blocking was able to create big plays for the offense.
Third down offense.
Third down offense was better, not only because Bryce was amazing throwing the ball on third down. I think he was 7 for 7 on third down with a couple touchdowns. But then you also, when he took off running on third down to extend drives, something that we've been begging for him to do all season. So I think that was a huge addition to it.
Hey, we used the big formation in goal line.
Yeah, I know you enjoy that.
Yeah.
Robbie Oost is a tight end by trade, but him getting in at fullback, making those key blocks down on the goal line to get Brian in the end zone, and of course, Coach Saban kind of joked about not throwing anybody under the bus about calling timeout down there to change the play call.
Yeah. Well, he threw him under the bus by saying he wasn't going to throw him under the bus. Just in case anybody's wondering. This is kind of a combo question. Use of the running backs in the passing game, but not just the down the field passing game. We actually ran screen to the running back.
Yes, like I said earlier, if our tight ends are going to struggle, we can't just rely on our wide receivers to be our pass catchers. So getting not only Brian, but Roydell as well involved in the passing game is going to be huge until the tight ends figure it back out. And even once they do figure it out, having everybody be an option is a big thing.
And last but definitely not least, you mentioned Mechie having a good game, but I think the Yak overall yards after the catch was a big deal, not just because of blocking, but it seemed like the receivers from catching, blocking, and their effort when they caught the ball. So Yak seemed to have been improved. Was there a as they say, come to Jesus meeting in the a wide receiver room this past weekend?
It might be, when you look at Jameson going for 10 catches to only having 2, but the offense looking a lot better. Of course, Mechie having a big game. Sometimes you just got to talk it out. And I don't know if it was a wide receiver room come to Jesus meeting or when Phil talked about what he said to the team, he might have got on everybody. So whatever happened, I'm glad it happened, and let's continue.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get the break here so we can bring in Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama online recruiting guru Hank South up next with the Martin Houston Show with X's and O's host Xavier Houston.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks, but it is nasty outside. We've got rain around the area. Slow down and be careful. Of course, if you do see conditions, just give us a call, 205-886-8886. Townsend Nissan is taking care of business, an amazing selection, great cashback offers, and they need your trade. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard, right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
It takes 2 vaccines to help protect you this season, the flu and COVID-19. And now you can get both shots at the same visit. Learn more at cdc.gov/vaccines.
Nick Saban calls it the process. John Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on it. And Coach Wooden said it's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family, are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our pep talks, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. And if you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalks35.com. That's peptalks35.com, or send an email to martin@martinhouston.org. That's the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Alabama 1, refi, reduce, and ride. That's right. If you're looking for a way to get maybe save some money, maybe even get some money for Christmas, for the holidays, especially since you need to start shopping early because of the supply chain issues, you need to go ahead and get in and get that refi started with Alabama 1, because we'll meet or beat your current rate if you qualify. So think about that. Worst case, you're going to have the exact same payment. Then number 2, we will give you up to $250 based on the value of that refi loan. So that's going to be money in cash in your pocket, additional. And then you'll have 60 days no pay. So if that's a $250 payment, that's $500 that will stay in your pocket. So, hey, I mean, seems like a great deal to me. I've taken advantage of it and want to encourage you to do so as well. That's refi, reduce, and ride at alabama1.org online, or stop by one of our branch locations that's open in the foyer. Thank you for being a part of the Alabama One Nation. You don't have to be a member to apply. Any and all are welcome to apply. Good morning, Hank. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good morning, Mark. Good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Hank, well, it seems like getting more news around recruiting. Alabama picking up a big commit from Thompson Warriors. Tell us what Alabama got in their most recent DB commit.
Yeah, it was pretty big news. Traquan Fegans, he decommitted from Miami early last week, and didn't wait long to announce his commitment to Alabama earlier this week. But a big time defensive back. A guy. In the defensive back discussion has been a lot about Earl Little Jr., Denver Harris, Damani Jackson, those highly ranked guys, and obviously we've been mentioning keep an eye on Traquan Fegans. If Bama starts pushing for him, and of course they did, and then a decommitment from Miami and getting the green light to commit to Bama. But just first thing you look at him, you see his size, 6'2", 180. So he's got that ideal frame you're looking at for the cornerback position. He's just a playmaker. He doesn't have a ton of film, and Tim Watts, our publisher at BOL, noted this, and it's a good point. He went from playing at Oxford, where his junior tape was up, and now he's at Thompson, where guys aren't really getting past the first level of the defense very often with that defensive line at Thompson. So he's not having a lot of opportunities to make a bunch of tackles. I think he has like 22 tackles so far this season. But I was talking to Mark Freeman, the head coach at Thompson, and he said, he's a guy that every time the ball's in the air, he has a chance, he's intercepting it, and he's making a pick six. It seems like he said he's the best He said he's probably the best lockdown corner he's ever coached, which is saying a lot considering some of the guys he's coached. So just an overall playmaker at the cornerback position. He's got the size, he's got the instincts. He doesn't shy away from contact. I think he's a guy that Bama really liked in the summer. He worked out in June. Kind of seemed like he might be closing in on a commitment. Bama might be trending, but Bama held off a little bit. They wanted to see him a little bit more his senior season. He committed to Miami, and then a few months later decommits, and then Bama's able to get him on board in their class. So I think a really big pickup for the class, and obviously solidifies Bama at that number one spot.
Xavier.
Yeah. How you doing today, Frank? Hank, I'm sorry.
Good. How are you?
Yeah. Speaking of Traquan and what that does for the big name guys, as you said, does that change anything for them?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just an example of Bama doing that senior season eval. It's not a lot of people, that's people's first question a lot of times. It's like, oh, well, this means they probably don't feel good about Earl Little or Denver Harris, and I don't think that's the case at all. I think those guys are still major targets, major priority targets, and I think Bama still has a good shot with them. You got Earl Little coming in, Earl Little and Damani Jackson coming in for the LSU game, maybe even Denver Harris as well. They've got a couple of safeties committed, Antonio Kite and Jake Pope. But and again with Traquan Fegans, I think he's maybe more of that Malachi Moore type defensive back. Maybe a guy that's going to play star, not as much corner where these guys like Earl Little and Harris are being recruited. So I don't think it changes anything. I think those guys are still right there in the mix to potentially end up in the class.
Yeah, and then you look at Shamar James.
Hold that question for 1 second because I want to get to that. But we got a caller holding. Pat, you're in with Hank South. What's on your mind, sir?
Walter Nolan. What I'm thinking is that Walter Nolan is a key piece. If we do not happen to get Arch Manning, and the Mannings are stupid and send him somewhere else other than Alabama, that Walter Nolan is a key piece to carrying Arch Manning. What do you think, Hank?
So Walter Nolan is playing quarterback now? I just kid. Hank,
It would be a key piece to countering Orange Manning's ability to get the ball out.
I'm just messing with you, Pat. Go ahead, Hank.
I wrote this yesterday. I said, I feel like it's anybody's guess with Walter Nolan at this point. I feel like things change every week. He's been Tennessee a bunch. He's going to he's loving up on A&M a lot. Michigan seemed to trend at one point. Everyone thought he was going to commit to Florida in June. So it's just like different week, different trend with Walter Nolan. So I really couldn't, give a confident prediction for him. Nobody's even putting a crystal ball pick for him at this point. Like nobody really knows what he's thinking. I think, if you look at the fact that he's now in Knoxville, and he's going to Tennessee a bunch, that's obviously got to help the Vols, I would imagine. But then again, he's going to be in Tuscaloosa. That LSU weekend, circling that as kind of that massive visitors weekend. We'll see if Bama can. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to that visit and it's looking like he's on the verge of coming to Bama. Like it's just that kind of recruitment. So, I think Bama has a good shot for him. But I think a lot of teams have a good shot for him right now. So, we'll see come signing day.
All right. He looks to be a stud to me. All right. Anyway, y'all have a blessed day. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Pat. All right, Xavier, you had a question.
Yeah. So the linebacker Shamar James from Faith Academy committed from Florida this week. There's been talks of Georgia, from what I've heard. He had a really good recruiting visit there this past weekend. What's Alabama's chances of securing him in this class?
Yeah, that's everyone's thought, right? When he decommitted, is he just went to Georgia. It's got to mean Georgia is trending, and maybe that's sort of the case, but Bama's right there. I think this is more of 50-50, maybe even leaning a little bit more Alabama, in my opinion, for Shamar James now that he's reopened his recruitment. Looking back on that situation in June, he officially visited Bama that first weekend of June. And it said after that trip, Bama has the advantage of his recruitment. He was considering Alabama and Florida at the time were his top two. And he said Bama had the upper hand. And I was actually talking to a person in Mobile earlier this week, or a couple weeks ago, I guess, and they said, he was so set on Bama that he almost didn't even visit Florida, which is crazy. He was ready to quit Bama, and then his mom convinced him to go ahead and just check out Florida since they hadn't been on many visits, and he did, and obviously he ended up committing to the Gators. But now that he's decommitted, Bama, Georgia, Georgia's tried to get more involved, but he's going to be in Tuscaloosa this weekend for the Tennessee game. Obviously he's very fond of Alabama. They do a really good job of recruiting him. I think Bama has just as much of a shot as Georgia here. Maybe a little bit of an upper hand just with, they've been recruiting him for forever. He got an offer about a year ago, but has been talking to the staff prior to that. And obviously he was on the verge of committing to Alabama back in the summer. So maybe second time's the charm. And obviously, Nick Saban pressing for him, that says a lot too. So, that's going to be a one to watch. I like that chances.
And Hank, South 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, you mentioned that Shamar will be in town. What other recruits Alabama got coming in for homecoming this weekend?
Yeah, it's actually, it went from one of those weekends where, we keep kind of previewing the LSU weekend, and obviously there's going to be big names at the Tennessee game, but as the week's gone on, it's really picked up in terms of just overall big time talent expected. I think there's 6 official visitors coming.
Oh wow,
which is wild. Yeah, it went from like 2 to a big group. Keon, the biggest one. That's ranking wise. Keontae Goodwin, Steve Wolf on the 24/7 Sports added him yesterday. He's committed to Kentucky. He's that 5-star offensive tackle. That he actually, I think they said it yesterday, so it's kind of like a last minute ad. But he's a guy that Bama's still recruiting. Obviously, he's committed to Kentucky, but still kind of looking around. That's one to watch. 2 defensive linemen that are really interesting to watch: Chris McClellan and Isaiah Hastings. McClellan's from Oklahoma. He's been to Tuscaloosa before back in June. And then Hastings is a new guy they offered a few weeks back from Florida. He's actually from Canada, but he's playing his senior season in Florida. He'll be making his first trip, and I think Hastings is a guy that could really take a step forward for this weekend. Then a wide receiver we mentioned kind of in the past, but not as much as of late. He's getting in on the official visit. Chris Marshall, a 4-star receiver from Texas, that has Bama in his top 3 with A&M and I think USC is the other one. So that's another guy to watch. And then there's going to be a bunch of Alabama commits back in town, and a pretty hefty 2023 list. James Smith, the 5-star defensive lineman from Montgomery. LT Overton, the #1 player in 2023 from Alpharetta, Georgia. You got your Thompson guys, Peter Woods, Tony Mitchell. I've been adding names like nonstop to this list. So the list is up at BamaOnline.com. It's going to be a pretty star-studded event.
Yeah, I'm still always amazed when I hear LT Overton. I remember him as a little 5th grader who would walk around with his head down and not talk to anybody. I'm sorry, a big 5th grader, not a little 5th grader. So watching him and seeing him grow, and he's pretty good on the basketball court from what I've heard. So is he still getting recruited on both sides there?
I think maybe a little bit. Bama hasn't done that yet, to my knowledge. But I think I have read that he is talking basketball with a few schools. But I think his focus is going to be football when it comes down to it.
I would tend to agree with that. So, Hank, speaking of basketball, give us a. We have to make sure at least every week we get a few minutes of update on basketball. Tell us what we got going on with Nate Oates and company.
Yeah, it seems like there could be kind of fireworks again at the end of this month. I think there's like 3 or 4 decision dates set from guys. Brandon Miller, obviously, the 5-star forward, Bama legacy. He's going to announce a commitment on Halloween. He's a guy that, decided between Bama, Kansas, and the G League. Bama seems to have momentum for him. We'll see he's taking a few more visits. So that's a guy we're watching. Derace Walker, the 5-star power forward from IMG Academy, the roommate with Jaden Bradley, Bama's commit. He's announcing a decision, I think, on November 3rd. He has a visit, I think, to Houston that last weekend of October, and then he's going to announce a decision. So just watching that visit. But it seems like Bama has a good chance. Obviously they got Jaden Bradley in this year all the time. He's already taken his official to Tuscaloosa with Jaden Bradley a few weeks back for that. I think it was the Ole Miss weekend. Maybe was it Ole Miss? It was one of those weekends.
Yeah.
So that's the guy we're keeping a close eye on. And then we'll have some official visitors in this weekend for basketball. Noah Clowney from South Carolina, Ty Rogers, and then there's one other. Don't have his name on top of my head, but some more visitors. They actually recently, I'm kind of just rambling now, but they recently offered a JUCO forward and Noah Pringle too out of Dodge City. So we've seen Bama turn to the JUCO guys several times under Nate Oates. So maybe they're doing that again in this year's cycle as well. So it feels like we're on the verge of a bunch of news, probably beginning of late October, beginning of November, right before that early signing period for basketball.
All right, that's Hank South 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, tell them where they can find you and what you got coming up, sir.
Yeah, BamaOnline.com. We're doing visitors previews. It's obviously going to be a big weekend, so we'll have a lot of visitor recaps on Sunday and throughout next week ahead of the bye week. So it's always a good time to sign up. And BamaOnline.com, we're doing a promo, always doing a promo, but $1 for your first month to try it out. So with the early signing period coming up, it's about to really get popping.
All right, that's Hank South 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Best follow in recruiting at Hank South 247. Thanks, Hank. We'll catch up with you next week.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's get the break here. Coming back on the other side, we will have more conversation with X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston, right here on the Martin Houston Show.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks, but it is nasty outside. We've got rain.
Custom Curbing, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you tell them that Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing at 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing LLC.
No tricks, no gimmicks, just great buys here at Townsend Nissan with a super inventory of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs, and most of all, crazy high trade-in values and finance rates as low as 0.9%. Don't wait and cost yourself thousands of dollars. Shop Townsend Nissan will be your best buying experience ever. And remember this, great selection, crazy trade-in values, super low rates, and lifetime powertrain warranties on new Nissans. Where should you buy your next vehicle?
Townsend Nissan, your family in the car business.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. It's the fourth quarter, 2-minute warning on the Martin Houston Show, presented by Alabama One Insurance, alabamaoneinsurance.com. Review, reduce, and relax. We'll review your policy, reduce your premium, and you can relax knowing you're properly covered. We got X's and O's, Xavier Houston on with us this morning, hosting, and we have Super Joe on the phone line. Welcome in, Super Joe. What's on your mind, sir? Super Joe, are you there?
Looks like he dropped.
Super Joe, man, fell asleep on us again. So, all right, Xavier, let's instead of getting into Tennessee today, let's talk a couple of things around the SEC. What are your thoughts, LSU and Coach O?
Well, sounds like Coach O has turned the LSU football program into his weekly date show or whatever. If you can't be at a school like LSU, you can't be focused on football. Maybe that national championship went to his head a little too much. He lost the respect of the team and the coaching staff. So you can't have that. You got to go.
I mean, I like Coach O from a personality standpoint as far as character type of guy, but I don't know how great of a coach he's ever been. Great recruiter, and he caught lightning in a bottle. And some people disagree with this sentiment, but to me, he's not a lot. There's not a lot of difference in terms of him being a national championship winning coach and Jimbo Fisher being a national championship winning coach. Both of those guys, other than those lightning in a ball of seasons, they're average guys for the most part. When I say average, they're better than a lot of coaches, but they're 8-9 win type of guys. So
they're not going to be in the conversation. They're not going to have their teams in the conversation
year in and year out. So, of course, you have to throw in Michigan's Jim Harbaugh. So, as you look around the SEC, Kentucky lost to Georgia, but is that Kentucky team legit, and will they end the season 11-1?
I'm not sure. This is kind of the same thing that I'm now questioning about Arkansas. Did we overhype Arkansas just because they beat Texas, they beat Texas A&M, and since then they got blown out by Georgia, made
legit
like the Heisman Trophy winner, and had a bad play call against Ole Miss that has cost them 3 games in a row. So I think it will depend on really who Kentucky plays down the stretch.
Okay.
The East is the weaker division, so they do have the opportunity. But I'm going to hold out on if they're legit or not.
Let's see this, legit or not. Let's see if they're 11-1 because they've won. They're sitting at 6-1 right now. They got Mississippi State, favored or not?
I'd say they favor.
Tennessee. Their defense is legit. So
I'll give Kentucky the nod. Nod.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah, of course.
New Mexico State.
Of course.
In Louisville. I'm telling you, they might be 11-1 when it's all said and done. So anyway, hey, we'll have you back. We'll talk more Alabama football, Alabama SEC, 4th Saturday in October, Tennessee game. We'll talk around the SEC, maybe even look at a couple teams from around the nation. Thanks for being a part of the program. We'll catch up with you tomorrow. That's X with X's and O's Sports. You can find them on all of the major podcasts and as well platforms, social media platforms, and go check out his TikTok account as well. X's and O's Sports with the Martin Houston Show will be back on tomorrow for more conversation. Thanks for being a part of it. I'm Martin Houston. That's Xavier. Thanks, Joe, for pressing all the right buttons. Thank you, callers, listeners, viewers, and chatters for being a part of the program. Remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not in your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Have a good one, Joe. Roll Tide.